Hey everybody, welcome back to the final episode, episode 10 of the Poopnaked preseason podcast. Here we are celebrating / ripping last year's champion, Cooper Tits. I'm guessing it's Tits. Cooper is someone I have only talked to on the phone. He is friends with Ben from grad school. I believe they're 1 year apart in the physical therapy program at UND. Outside of that, I don't know much about Cooper other than he won the league. So it's been pretty active in the trading market, especially lately. Looking at the bar graphs, I think we'll start there, figure out if he's likely to repeat as champ or if he just got lucky. Comes in at third overall value, barely edges out Aaron, who we know traded away a lot of draft capital. So it'll be interesting to see. Looking at the lines, it looks like that's pretty much the difference in their team values. Is Aaron's got more wide receiver value, while Cooper has more draft capital value. So in terms of being a contender, you probably want more positional value than you do draft capital value. But having draft capital value also allows you to be more flexible. So whereas Aaron is going to have a harder time making moves because he doesn't have picks to burn, Cooper might be a little bit more insulated because he also has a very valuable team, but has all of his picks to use. So let's dive through and see if the breakdown paints a picture of a contender or not. In terms of overall starter rank, he's ranked number 4, and that feels pretty right when looking at his team. His quarterback room is great. He's got 4 starters. Joe Burrow, very high end. Daniel Jones, I believe, was top 10 last year, gives you a lot of rushing upside. I think I would love going into battle with those two as my starters. Goff is just very, very underrated. I think the real question is, do the Lions stick with him long term, or do they trade him or cut him if they're able to find a replacement? But Goff he's doing in Detroit what he did in Los Angeles. Like, he's just playing the scheme and pushing the right buttons. I think he's a great QB3. Behind him, he's got another starter in Ritter. If Ritter balls out, they probably don't draft a guy. So he could have 4 legitimately valuable starters if everything breaks right. So I think this room is appropriately ranked right now, but it wouldn't surprise me to see any one of these guys take a step forward and for this to kind of shoot up and give Cooper a real positional value week over week. Let's go to the running back room. We'll just go left to right again. I don't really like it. I like Christian McCaffrey as obviously running back 1 ceiling, but behind him, you just have Cam Akers and not really much else. You've got 2 hurt guys who aren't going to be considered week to week. Zonovan Knight, I think, was cut by the Jets. Dwayne McBride, I think, was cut by the Vikings. So he's 2 guys, maybe 3 that aren't even on rosters, because I don't know if Eno Benjamin's anywhere. And then Zach Evans, I'm even having trouble thinking of where he plays. I want to say it's the Packers, but I don't know. If I haven't heard of him, it's usually not a great sign that you'll start him in a flex or at your running back position. So very thin here. Cam Akers coming off that Achilles tear. It looked great at the end of last season. But ultimately, I would want a little bit more depth behind this position if I was looking to repeat going forwards. Let's go to tight end next. I think this is a really interesting room for him. Trey McBride was drafted really high, but didn't really do much last year because he was hurt. So if he steps forward and commands a lot of targets, I could see him, possibly being a fringe tight end 1. Same with Dalton Schultz. Rookie quarterbacks don't usually favor their tight ends, but Schultz is such a solid, like, low ADOT type receiver. I would feel fine starting him as my tight end 1. He's got a really good high upside. Tight end in Dalton Kincaid. word is that they want to use him out wide, not blocking, that would be huge. If he could develop into the wide receiver 2 for Josh Allen, that would be tremendous. But I typically don't expect much from tight ends their rookie year unless they're Kyle Pitts. So he would have to be an outlier to be a really usable, like week over week usable player. So I think it's a good tight end room. Because he's got Schoonmaker too. I believe Schoonmaker is the guy with the Packers who is playing every snap. I think that's who it is. Yeah. I have to look. Oh no, he's with Dallas. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. I don't like this guy. He's not, to me, he's not super duper valuable. I'd rather have Ferguson. I'd rather have Jake Ferguson. Um, Jelani Woods, really athletic, but I think he's on IR or the pup already. Zach Ertz and Austin Hooper, they're kind of dusty. Wouldn't really expect them to be worth anything going into next year. So I think this position is serviceable, but it doesn't really give him a week over week advantage unless, like I said, Kincaid is a huge outlier as a rookie with Josh Allen, but I don't like to bet on outliers, especially if I'm contending. My favorite position for him is probably his wide receivers, honestly. He's made a lot of trades, adding and subtracting depth at other positions using wide receivers. I think last year that was the big reason why he was so successful, is because he had Devontae Adams get 180 targets and then he had Tyreek Hill give like a top 2 or 3 finish. Like, it was just unbelievable, that advantage that you got, because it felt like their floor was at least 20 points. And that is such an advantage going into the week against anybody else, really, especially in a 10 team, because it's hard for people to match that similar positional advantage on a week to week basis. So it's rank 7 overall, I think, is a little bit unfair because he's got some high end pieces at the top, but I think it's more like Aaron's team where it's just very top heavy. So we'll go through the top down. Drake London, this is a guy I've been trying to get from him for most of last year. I love Drake London. There is so much opportunity there. He had such good advanced metrics last year. He played really well with Ritter. So I like the potential of a Ritter Drake London stack. He was like a 30% target share as a rookie, which is crazy, even on a very low volume offense. So I love London. A lot of people love London. It wouldn't surprise me if next year he's like a 2nd round startup pick, but I'll definitely buy him from a second, Coop, if you're willing to sell ever. Devontae Adams, love him. You got to wonder if he's kind of entering the twilight or the downturn of his career. I think last year he had the most targets ever, which was kind of shocking. I don't see any reason why he won't be a high-end wide receiver 1 unless he gets hurt or his production slips. But he's such a good route runner. I really think that any loss in athleticism will be mitigated by his just like supreme skill as a wide receiver. Terry McLaurin, very underrated wide receiver. He got Terry in the Tyreek Hill trade. I think if Howell pops up and Terry can stay healthy, I don't think he'll miss a ton of weekly upside, but I would rather have Tyreek Hill, but Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver 3 or 4 is still very good. Same with Mike Williams. Like, Keenan Allen's older, Justin Herbert should be throwing in a better offense. Mike Williams, if he can stay healthy, he can definitely get you like 25, 30-point weeks. Like, as a flex, this is what you want, I think, in that flex spot, is a high upside wide receiver who can win you the week by himself. Going down, it kind of thins out. You've got Brandon Cooks, who I think will be pretty good in Dallas. Cortland Sutton with the Jerry Jeudy injury. I think he's pretty underrated as an X receiver. From what I recall, Russ throws a good deep ball. It just never really materialized because of health. And whoever they had their head coach was like the worst head coach I've ever seen. So I'm expecting a big bounce back from Cortland Sutton this year. Mingo could be the wide receiver 1 for Bryce Young. pretty decent profile coming out. So I like him. So he has 7 wide receivers that are startable every week. So I think he's got good depth, but I think he just lost like the positional advantage that he had with Tyreek Hill. But if Drake London takes that step, if Terry McLaurin takes that step, maybe he mitigates that risk quite a bit. At the bottom here, it's all just kind of a bunch of nothing. Like Josh Downs is interesting, but I can't see him getting a lot of value unless Richardson is an outlier as a thrower. Rondale Moore, hard to see him improving in value because no Kyler Murray. And I think he's got injury concerns as well. So I could see Cooper probably being like a top 4, top 3 team. If he gets some progression forward from some of his young wide receivers, if Devontae maintains that high level play, he'll probably be in pretty good shape because his quarterbacks are very good. His tight ends are solid with some upside excitement, but a lot is going to hinge on this running back room. Like you only need to start 2, but you also have to start 2. So, if there's any fragility here, I think it's going to be tough for him to make up that difference, especially if either of these guys take a step back. So there's a lot riding on this position overall for Mr. Coop. Let's go through his trades because I know he's made quite a few. Mr. Tits. So this is that paperclip trade I was talking that Aaron made. So Aaron got Cam Akers from Cooper for not very lot of draft capital. And then Cooper got him back in the Terry McLaurin trade. So overall, solid. I mean, he gets an additional starter, which he definitely needed. But he traded him back. So I think if he never made this move, it probably would have made a lot more sense. Because maybe he doesn't have to pay as high a price to get a starting running back. Here, this is a solid tier down, I think, from him. So by tier down, that means that you take a position player and you trade for someone in the tier below him with some extra added on top. So for him, he traded Amari Cooper after Amari Cooper's best season for Courtland Sutton, whose value was a little bit depressed, and some extra draft capital. If we go and review that draft, so that was my 3rd round pick. We can see that pick turned into that doesn't seem right. My 3rd pick. Let's see. Let's go back to those trades. Sometimes these are harder to follow. I don't know why. Okay. So he traded my 3rd round pick. I gave him a 3rd round pick. But yet I used my 3rd round pick. No, I traded for Logan's 3rd round pick. I see. So it was over here. Or here. Here it is. So we got Josh Downs with it. So to me, I probably would have picked a running back, but there wasn't really much as far as running backs go. I think Josh Downs has a good profile. He played really well with Drake May last year. I like him as a slot receiver. It's just, to me, the pick here would have been running back. So either Tajay Spears or anyone else on the board. Somehow Charbonnet went in the 6th round, which is weird. That would have been a great pick. Unfortunate that the running back he drafted ended up getting cut by the Vikings. And so that's kind of the volatility of those late 3rd round picks, is you can get good profiles. Like decent players went afterwards, but it's kind of hard to get consistent production. So I think overall, Cooper will definitely be a playoff team, but it's really going to hinge, like how far he can go hinges on, does Dalton Kincaid do anything? Or, and do these 2 guys stay healthy? Because I don't think any of these guys are really going to contribute to this position at all. So to me, he needs to trade some of his depth, either at his draft picks or at wide receiver, to patch any holes that might happen from injury or a reduction in production from either acres or CMC. So I think overall he's got a solid team, but it's not bulletproof. I can definitely see side where it slips quite a bit from being a championship team to more towards like a fringe playoff team or not having a bye. So Cooper, nice job winning your first Dynasty League season. Hope you're wearing that Joe Burrow jersey this week. Good luck. Keep being active. Keep exploring trades. I'd be scouring the waiver wire for some running back stuff. But I think overall you got a solid team. You got good pieces to build on. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out. Thanks, guys. I don't know if anybody's watched all of them or if you're just watching the ones that pertain to your team. Hopefully you guys thought this was cool. I certainly enjoyed doing it. I'm going to try to do like week to week quick go through like all the matchups, maybe critique any trades if we have any, talk about like free agent pickups if there were any, because I think this was fun, definitely a way for me to kill time. So good luck to everybody this season. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you.